Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome to the Never Stop Podcast with your host, your girl, Shari, coming to you from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. Before we get started, you guys, I really have to take some time out to just thank those of you who have already listened to the previous episodes, who downloaded, subscribed to the Never Stop Podcast. Thank you. I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I also want to thank those of you who may be new today listening to the Never Stop Podcast. I appreciate your time, and I hope you find something today worthwhile to come back and join us another day. For everyone that's joining me today, I have a joint message for all of you. Buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to get deep. Now, today's episode is going to touch on a subject that I think 90%, if not more, of the adult population can relate to. And you know that's something special when no matter what economic class you may fall in, your geographic location, the racial group you identify with, your intellectual ability, your sexual orientation, or just overall religiosity, this topic is going to be relatable to everyone. It doesn't matter if you are rich or poor, if you are black or white, if you live in Texas or in Turkey, if you consider yourself a Christian, a Muslim, or if you practice Judaism, if you are gay or straight or anything that falls in between. For all of us, we all know how it feels to suffer from a broken heart. So that is what this week's episode is titled, you guys. How to Stop Living with a Broken Heart. Let's get into it. Now, a lot of people may not know, but this broken heart issue is serious. It's very serious, y'all. There is actually a medical condition called broken heart syndrome. It's a real condition, you guys. Its symptoms mimic a heart attack. Can you believe this? The American Heart Association conducted a study where they examined almost 136,000 individual cases of the syndrome in United States hospitals from 2006 to 2017. And they found women made up 83% of the broken heart cases. And do you know the rate was 12 times higher in women ages 50 to 74 than it was in men or younger women? And doesn't this support what we already know about heart disease and cardiovascular issues for women, especially Black or African American women? According to the American Heart Association, heart disease is the number one killer in women. And things like strokes disproportionately affect Black women. African American women have almost 2 times the risk of stroke than whites, and more likely to die at an early age when compared to women of other ethnicities. For Black women, heart disease is our greatest health risk. 50,000 of us die a year of heart disease. And of African American women ages 20 and older, 49%, y'all hear this? 49% have heart disease according to the American Heart Association. We need to really get to the bottom of this, so let's go. It's my assertion that our hearts have been under attack, y'all, and we don't even know it. For some of us, since we have been little girls, little boys, our hearts have been under attack. And why wouldn't it? If you are a scientific person, you understand the importance of our heart in regards to biology and the necessity of a heart in order to live. We can lose a limb, you can lose an arm, and still thrive. But with all the inventions and advances in medicine, we cannot lose a heart and still expect to live. For my spiritual never stoppers out there are so many biblical references regarding the importance your heart plays in this life. Proverbs 4:26, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Jeremiah 29:13, You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So when you look at the importance of the heart biologically and spiritually, it's only right that the devil comes to attack it. It's only right that he wants a piece of something that's so valuable. We should expect him to waylay and try to come and attack our hearts. I truly believe it is his earnest desire to have us all walking around with broken hearts, exhausted hearts, tired, and no longer believing in the true concept of love. Because the devil knows when your heart is broken, it just changes the way you view life. It changes the way that we view ourselves. It changes the way that we view other people. And oftentimes, unfortunately for many, or at least for some, it changes the way that they view God. Do not underestimate the devil. He knows that if he gets a part of your heart, if he could infiltrate your heart, he's got your mind, your body, and oftentimes your soul. Can you remember back to the time before you got your heart broken? Like the first time you got your heart broken. Can you remember back to a time before then? Some of you may want to refer to a high school relationship, maybe your first love, I don't know. I want y'all to be Scrooge with me right now, and let's visit the ghost of Christmas past. Who were you before your heartbreak? How did you feel about yourself? Think about it. How did you feel or view other people? How did you view God? Think about it, y'all. Take some time to really think about it. Some of us need to journal and write these things down. For me, I was a dreamer. And I believed that anything was possible before I got my heart broken. I always saw the glass half full. And for me, in terms of the first time I got my heart broken, it was not about a relationship with a boyfriend. My father broke my heart. My daddy. My dad was a king to me. All of my friends would say he looked like Teddy Riley. He would pick me up and put me on his shoulders every time he saw me. And he would tell anyone who was around him, you see my queen? This is my queen. I'll never forget, 3rd grade year, he wanted to walk me to school, even though my bus picked me up right in front of my house. And I lived in Rhode Island, y'all, so it was cold. We had snow up to our knees. But every morning, because I loved him so much and I knew how much he loved me, I'd walk to his house and he'd make me a cup of decaffeinated coffee, and he'd make himself a cup of caffeinated coffee, and we listened to Bruce Springsteen videos. And you couldn't tell me anything, y'all. He was my best friend. But my mom joined the military, and after a few years of her being away, she sent for me. So I had to move to California, which was across the country. And you guys, I missed him so badly. If I had a topic in school that they allowed me to choose, I would have picked my father. I always chose him. I'd call him to let him know how much I detested my new stepfather. Not that the man wasn't a good man, but I always wanted my father to know that I chose him. I longed for my father when I was away from him during this time. And I remember after about 2 to 3 years of us being away from my home state, my mother told me that we would be going back in the summertime to go visit. Y'all, I could not wait to see my father. I played it over and over and over in my head. I knew when I got there I would not see my mother the whole vacation because I was going to be with my daddy. I say this was about 1986, so we were driving in the town and we saw him, and this was me, my mom, just driving right in the town, fresh from getting off the road, driving cross country. And of course, when we saw him, I said to my mom, pull over, stop the car. And I'll remember my mom tried to. I'll give it to her. She tried her best and said, Dante, you'll see him later. Let's just get to where we need to go and you'll see him later. But you guys, that was actually unheard of for me, because I'm thinking, woman, we've been away for 2 to 3 years. I want to see my father. Please stop this car. So unfortunately, she obliged. I remember getting out the car and walking up to him, and it was already odd because in the past I could see my father from a mile away and he would recognize me. We walked alike. I had a gap in the middle of my mouth just like him, so he never mistook who I was previous to this time. I remember being about 10 to 15 feet from him and looking at him and him looking at me, but for some reason he didn't recognize me the way I recognized him. So to gauge his memory, I said, Daddy? And then I realized something snapped where he said, Shari? And I said, yeah. And he grabbed me and he gave me a hug and he said, where's your mother? And I pointed to the car and I said, she's right there. And he walked me over to the car. He kissed me on my cheek. He opened the door and he said, I'll see you later. Have a good day. I'd say the encounter lasted all about 3 to 5 minutes, and heavy on the 5, closer to the 3. And I did not understand at all why someone that I had loved so much, so deeply, yearned for so long, and stated he felt exactly the same way about me, saw me after missing me so much and only gave me 3 minutes of his time. And if I truly think back now, that incident, that experience, it changed me, y'all. That day, I was no longer the same. It made me question who I was, my value, if I was loved, why he didn't miss me. Really, overall, what was real in my life? If the man who has shown me love all of my life and told me I was his heart, that I was everything to him, was now treating me like I was nothing, what did that mean about me? After that encounter with my father, it became a reoccurring theme. Although he never found the time to independently call me or to ever send me a gift, when he would find himself incarcerated, that's when he would take the time to write me. Like on my 13th birthday, I received a letter. I thought this was a special letter. I thought, oh wow, he must have remembered I'm turning 13. I can only imagine what's in it. It was a letter. And I'll never forget how it started, because you know why, y'all? It's engraved in my heart. The letter read, Dear Shari, I hope this letter finds you in the best of health and spirit. Due to my affliction with drugs, I have once again found myself incarcerated. And as I sit here talking to you guys about this, I hold back my tears. Because even though that's something I experienced over 30 years ago, it truly is a testimony that by the age of 13, my heart was broken. And then, just like many others, I went through life trying to mend my heart, which can make us even more vulnerable to pain, more susceptible to exploitation and being abused. Looking back, I look at all my relationships and realize that I've been seeking a partner that wouldn't abandon me, someone whose love would not change on me. And of course, when the inevitable occurred, I was even more devastated, even more brokenhearted. So how do we get out of this cycle? How do we break the cycle and not become one of these brokenhearted statistics, y'all? Number one, I think we need to start acknowledging how valuable and how precious our hearts are. Like I said, I don't think many of us really have realized how valuable and how much under attack this commodity that's encased in us truly is. We cannot be in these streets just freely sharing our hearts. Can't. We need to be treating our hearts like they are our most important commodity. Because they are, y'all. Like Matthew 6:21 said, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." There is nothing wrong with being kind. I'm kind-hearted. There is nothing wrong with being friendly. But for many of us, if we are being perfectly honest with ourselves, we know we have shared our hearts way too freely, or at the least, we have given our hearts to individuals who were not deserving, especially when you put it in context to how valuable your heart is. They were not deserving of such a benefit, such a placement in our hearts. Some folks have loved a man with all of their hearts, more than they've loved themselves. And what have they done to deserve this placement in your life? Who are we giving our hearts to, y'all? Our most valuable asset? A liar? A cheater? A manipulator? Someone we've been given the discernment about? We have to value our hearts more than we have. We have to be more selective about who we love, who we share our hearts with. It's figuratively and literally your most valuable asset in life, which again is why it's under attack. Not just for black people or rich people, but white, old, young, from Mexico to Melrose. So does this mean that we need to walk around mean and all shut off to live life as a recluse? No, you guys, this is not the extreme. Of course not. And I hate when I see individuals adopt that type of mind frame due to having bad experiences with love or having a broken heart. But what it does mean is that we must begin to start choosing wisely, or more wiser. And how do we choose more wiser? Write this down, y'all. Write it down. Get your pens and your papers. Test the spirit. 3 words. 3 simple words, but so hard to remember and more importantly to do. Let me say it again. Test the spirit. In John it says, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world." You know what that means? You better know that the devil is a master counterfeit. What is the definition of a counterfeit, y'all? Go to your dictionaries. A fraudulent imitation of something else, made in the exact imitation of something valuable. Ooh, listen to this. Or important with the intention to deceive or defraud. That's what a counterfeit is, y'all. How many of us have gotten in relationship with counterfeits, with individuals who represented themselves as something opposite of what they truly were? He told you he wanted to be a family man, but he was always in the streets. They told you that they loved you and that they were going to be your rider. And as soon as y'all faced adversity, they were gone. We have to test the spirit, y'all. It's like what Jay-Z said. When the grass is cut, the snakes will show. We need to be more careful and discerning when it comes to who we choose to share our hearts with. Because when we let these counterfeits in, y'all, we often suffer from a broken heart. This is because so much of who we were was based upon these people's energy. And the heart does require energy biologically. So scientifically, it's produced from fatty acids, but I submit it's also produced from the energy that we have in our lives, that we choose to bring, more importantly, into our lives. So many of us are tired of being on the roller coaster, the broken heart roller coaster. But in order for us to truly get off that ride, suffering heartbreak after heartbreak, we have to find within ourselves the energy that fuels our hearts, not others. We have to find everlasting sources of energy that won't let us down. And honestly, we're all human beings. And as a human being, it's way too much, I believe, personally, to expect another imperfect human being to be able to fill these type of holes in our hearts. I shared my story with you all when I was 10 years old, when I was 13 years old. Can you imagine how difficult a task it would be for a man that I meet today at 40 plus years old to come and heal that wound from 10 years old? I mean, it's actually unfair. It's an unfair expectation to have for someone else. So the solution for me has been to allow myself to go through a period of isolation that the Lord, or my spiritual guide, has truly required in order to reset and honestly become more content with myself. To cut off this addiction that I've had of using others to try to fuel my heart. I've been feeding my own heart, and I've been extremely selective right now about the individuals I choose to let into my heart. At this age, I'm recognizing my heart is valuable. It's special. There is no heart like it. Nowhere on this planet is there a heart like mine. And my heart is strong. It's been through a lot, but it also has endured a lot with me. And there are invaluable sources of energy, like our children, like our parents, those that He will place in your life that have shown you unconditional love. These are the individuals that we need to use to fuel our heart. No, y'all, it's our job to protect our heart. I've heard people say, I give you my heart, it's your heart to protect. I don't agree with that sentiment. I understand where it comes from, but no, it's your heart. He gave you that heart. He put it in you. You're responsible for your heart, and it's your responsibility to treat it like your life depends on it, because it truly does. I hope you all start walking around like you got $1 billion in your back pocket. May not be in your back pocket, but it's most certainly in your chest. Protect it by any legal means necessary. That's my quote. By any legal means necessary. You protect your heart, y'all. You protect it. And you make sure that when you share it, you're sharing with someone that you have tested their spirit and you know for certain is worthy of a placement in your heart. But more importantly, if you are let down, your heart will not be broken, because ultimately it's being fueled by your own energy, by an everlasting energy that can't nobody take away if they choose to walk away. Build your house on solid ground. In conclusion of today's podcast, I really do hope this podcast assisted anyone that may be out there suffering from a broken heart. I hope it helps you choose to choose you, and to know that your heart is invaluable. In the great Proverbs 23:15, it states, "My son, if your heart is wise, then my heart will be glad indeed." Have a great day, y'all. Be blessed. And in closing, as my grandfather said, may you live as long as you want to, and want to as long as you live. Till next time. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Never Stop with Shari Podcast.